This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Hello 313, hello Michigan, and welcome to this week's show, Travel Basketball with Gus Weaver. We really got a great show lined up today. We debuted last week on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, and we really appreciate them for having us on and giving us a platform to talk travel basketball around the great state of Michigan and beyond. I mentioned that we have a great show lined up. Here's a few things that we will touch on today's show. First off, we'll take a look back at the Moneyball Shootout, big tournament in Lansing, Michigan last weekend. Hundreds of kids running around playing basketball. It was really a nice scene, a nice tournament put on by Moneyball. We'll take a look at that tournament from last weekend. We will look ahead to this weekend coming up. Common Bond is hosting a tournament in Ypsilanti, Michigan. A lot of teams already registered, locked and loaded, ready to go for the Common Bond tournament. We'll preview that. We have a very special guest on today's show. His name is Mike Westerdale. He's the head coach of the 313 Hot Boyz 6th grade travel basketball club. And when we talk to Mike, we'll talk about various things concerning the 313 Hot Boyz, the state of the organization, and moving forward, what those guys have on the table. Lastly, we'll get into some shout outs. One thing that we did last week, we asked you guys, for all listeners, anybody that's following us on any of the social sites, shoot us information on any player, any team, any event, any tryouts that you have coming up. If it's worthy of a shout out and you ask us to do that, we will do just that. We'll shout you out on this weekly program that airs every Friday on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Once again, I'm your host, Gus Weaver. This is our second installment of this show. And right now we can jump right into what we saw last weekend in Lansing at the Moneyball Shootout. I mentioned all of the different teams, last week. We had teams to watch. We had players to watch. Those players that we highlighted last week, they did not disappoint. They showed up big. Some of our team predictions in terms of who would win what grade level came through exactly as we wanted to. Once again, it was just a really great tournament. So before we get into that 5th grade, which was the youngest grade of the Moneyball Shootout, I would like to introduce my guest. His name is Mike Westerdale. He's the head coach of the very hot 313 Hot Boyz. Mike Westerdale, welcome to the program.
Hello, Gus.
Happy to have you as we sit here and talk about some basketball. And before we get too deep into your 313 Hot Boyz, why don't you give the listeners a little bit of a rundown on your history, your background in terms of coaching, how long you've been at it, and just so the listeners can get a feel of where you're coming from.
I've been coaching now in the Detroit area for about 5 years, around the clock, 365 all year. In the summers, we do a lot of 3-on-3 basketball, the Gus Mackers, because I really think it focuses on man-to-man defense in that, and I believe we'll talk about that in a little while. But winter, fall, spring, we're playing, all year round. This team that I'm lucky enough to coach right now, I believe is the most talented team in the state of Michigan. It has every single position covered with the exact type player you would want. We don't even need another player. It's very few programs out there that everyone you talk to says, hey, we're looking for this big, or we're looking for this shooter, or we're looking for this. We have it all. It's just the chemistry of the team. It's newly put together. All our pieces have been playing together now for about 45 days, the status that it's at right now. And it just needs a little bit of time.
45 days, Mike, that's you guys got a lot of room to grow with only 45 days under your belt as one. And, when you mentioned the fact that this team, you're not really searching for a hole to fill, a position of need, that is very rare at the 6th grade level. I'm sure that's not only the case in Michigan, but probably beyond. Excluding some of these super teams that have been put together from kids from various states. But with you guys being right here, all in one area, so to speak, and you're loaded, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's something that's rare. Mike, you were at the Moneyball shootout last weekend with your Hot Boyz. You know, what I saw from this 5th grade division, the Moneyball shootout, was Quest, a tough Quest team out of Lansing. They looked really good. Every time I noticed these guys, they were beating up on somebody. They ended up winning the championship in a tough game against the BGC Wildcats. That's a Grand Rapids team. Final score in that one was 57-55, but I was really impressed with not just this 2025 Quest team, but Quest across the board. It seemed like they had a good showing and really an organized club that Quest is bringing to these tournaments.
I actually know the assistant coach on Quest very well, Maurice Somerville. His son Keyshawn and my son have actually played in a lot of tournaments together, or in camps. Let me see. They met at Michigan State 2 years ago at the Izzo camp, and they just became real good buddies. But Maurice he's got some basketball knowledge. I like what he does, and his kid. I mean, a lot of people argue he's the top 5th grader in the state of Michigan. His name is Keyshawn.
That's pretty nice, man. I was very impressed with Quest. Like I said, not only 2025, but you know, every team they put out there, they looked good, they played good, they were together, and you could tell they were well coached. Moving on to the 6th grade division, that's the division that your Hot Boyz competed in. First time you guys had an early exit from a tournament in at least those 45 days that you guys have been together as a club, because you were riding an 18-game win streak coming into this Moneyball tournament. Is that correct?
That is correct. It is by far the coolest experience of my coaching career. In those 18 wins, we were down multiple games, 12, 15 points, and to come back and win. So our exit, we got down in the first game. I think around that 15, 17 points, and made some adjustments. We were able to cut it to 4, and just couldn't. Just time. We just didn't have enough time.
A lot of time when you have those, major comebacks, you fight and you give it so much to come back, and it's oftentimes tough to actually climb over that hump. But to show the wherewithal and the fight, and the courage to come back from 15 down against a very quality team. Let's talk about this team that knocked you guys off. Motor City Thunder Elite, a tough team out of Inkster. This was one of the teams that we highlighted on last week's show and told you that this 6th grade division will come down to the Motor City Thunder Elite and the 313 Hot Boyz. It just so happened, the way the bracket was set up, these two teams didn't meet in the championship. They met up just outside of the Final Four. Motor City Thunder Elite beat the Hot Boyz, and they moved on to win this 6th grade bracket 49-47 over a very tough Skills Nation team. Skills Nation had size, they had skill, well coached. So this one wasn't easy to win. 49-47 final score for Motor City Thunder, coming away with that 6th grade trophy. And like I said, this was a tough division either way. So big props to the Motor City Thunder Elite Club. Mike, in that 7th grade bracket, Michigan Titans out of Lansing over Lansing Spartans. It's an all Lansing final. 60-48 was the final score. I watched some of this game, and to me it was never really in doubt, although Lansing Spartans made the score a little bit closer than it had been for a while I was watching. Michigan Titans, nice program out of Lansing. They didn't dominate by any means in this 7th grade division, but they did enough to win. And anytime you do enough to win, I'm sure that's good enough for the coach. Big props to Michigan Titans, 60-48 winners in the 7th grade division over the Lansing Spartans. In the 8th grade division, this was probably the most lopsided championship game of the tournament, and in fact it was. You had a FA Heat 8th grade team just running right over the Michigan Roadrunners, 82-37. Now that's a 45-point loss. I'm not a mathematician, but I do believe that's 45 points. At that stage, I'm not really sure what the Michigan Roadrunners could have done different, but obviously they were no match for the FA Heat team, a tough, talented FA Heat team, not like these guys are scrubs. Not really much here to dissect from the 8th grade division. It was a blowout. Congratulations to the FA Heat. Let's get into the 15U 9th grade division, which was this was one that I was really looking forward to watching. These were two teams that we highlighted in last week's show, DV45 and Reach. met up in the championship game. Denzel Valentine's club, like I told you guys last week, they're well coached. They have athletes, straight up basketball players on that team, and they were able to get by Reach by 9 points. Talented, bona fide basketball players were on the spotlight in this championship game. And, Reach, it's crazy when Reach makes these championship games. It's kind of like they'll win two, drop two, win two, drop two. Well, they weren't fortunate enough to get this one, and they dropped 57-48 to the Denzel Valentine group. 16U, 10th grade, saw North Oakland Wolfpack 57 defeat the HHBC Flight Club by 1 point, 57-56. I told you guys about this Flight Club last week. I was really intrigued by them. I thought they would win this 10th grade division, but they fell a little bit short. But this was probably the most entertaining game of the championship battles at the Moneyball Shootout. Big props to North Oakland Wolfpack. They got some legit size on that team, and those guys came to play fundamentally sound. They didn't hurt themselves, limited turnovers, and the championship is what happens if you follow the blueprint, and that's what North Oakland Wolfpack did. 11th grade, 17U saw the Detroit Spartans beat Reach 72-69, in which was an upset. These two teams been kind of jaw-jacking on social media leading up to this. There was rumors that Reach has been ducking the Detroit Spartans just for them to meet up in the championship game, and the Spartans took care of business 72-69. Self-proclaimed, the Detroit Spartans are now Kings of Detroit in that age group, and they feel like they've earned that right by defeating Reach, a very tough Reach team. He got kids with offers going all over, the Midwest to go to college, but they couldn't get past the Detroit Spartans. That's a quick look back on the Moneyball Shootout held in Lansing last week. We got a little bit of insight from the 313 Hot Boyz head coach, Mike Westerdale. Mike is going to stick around for us, for the remainder of the show. But that's what you have from the Moneyball Shootout. Once again, props to all of these teams that won championships. You got Detroit Spartans, North Oakland Wolfpack, Denzel Valentine, 45, FA Heat, Michigan Titans, Motor City Thunder Elite, and Quest out of Lansing. Those are your champions from the Moneyball Shootout. Mike, moving forward, what do you guys got on your schedule for 313 Hot Boyz? Any more big tournaments you guys getting into?
I think 3 tournaments lined up, but over the next couple weeks, we are going into some Gus Mackers. We are going to Big Rapids, which is right by Grand Rapids this weekend. And we're off Memorial Day, but then we're right back at it the following weekend in Grand Rapids. And then we've got, I think we got a tournament in Flint, and then we're going to Nationals in Tennessee. That is like a 4-day tournament in Pigeon Forge.
You guys' schedule is full.
Oh yeah.
Schedule is full. Are you watching the NBA basketball, Mike?
Watched it last night.
Who you got in these two Eastern Conference, Western Conference finals?
Well, with the 2-0 lead, I think I'd pretty much go with Boston. And I can't believe it, though. I mean, LeBron gets a triple-double and they still lose, so I don't know. I'd say Boston, and I think Golden State's too much.
Golden State is too much, but I like to call that Kevin Durant is too much. Because without Kevin Durant, I don't know that, Kevin Durant is just, he can get a bucket whenever you need a bucket. Even if he's not scoring, it looks like it's going in. Possibly best mid-range shooter in the NBA right now. The way he can elevate over guys, it's just a flick of the wrist. He makes it look very easy, man. For me, I'm not a LeBron fan, but I still have a hard time believing that Boston injuries and everything, how they're able to just keep pushing forward. I heard sports radio today, somebody referred to the Boston Celtics as a daycare. They said LeBron is letting a daycare beat the mess out of them because these guys are so young. And they that bona fide superstar is not there. Kyrie, not there. Gordon Hayward, not there. Yet they're still just marching right along the Eastern Conference. And like you said, LeBron, 40-point triple-double, and you still lose.
I think it's got to come down to some of it with Brad Stevens.
Heck of a coach.
I don't think he was even in the running for Coach of the Year or anything this year.
He didn't get one vote.
And look what he's doing with this. I was pretty entertained with him at Butler, and obviously, look what he did there. I study what he does. I like the way he operates. Big fan. I mean, you got to say it's got to be coaching. I mean, Rozier, nobody even heard of the dude really until all of a sudden now he's
scary Terry.
He's wicked fast. But see, I am a big LeBron fan. I love LeBron. And I mean, he came out, he put 28, 30 points in the first quarter? I don't know.
20 something in the first quarter.
Okay. And then
he took a blow to the chin or something. Yeah. Kind of changed the dynamic of his offensive output, I thought. But, overall, LeBron's a heck of a player. He's one of the best ever. Arguably the best ever.
Cleveland looked sloppy, though. Like, even late, that one, there was a inbounds play, and they brought in, Kyle Korver, I think, and he came around the curl, and he's going to catch it, and he just dropped it. Lost it out of bounds. That was sloppy. There was just little...
They're off.
I don't know.
They're off. Maybe
they're
going
off
back
now.
home, they can correct some things, and it'll be a little easier with the crowd and everything. But right now, not looking good for LeBron and his Cleveland Cavaliers. As we move forward, there's a nice-sized tournament here in Michigan hosted by Common Bond that we like to take a quick look at. Not an extended look, but a quick look. So what we'll do is we'll intro some of the teams in each grade division, and I'll give you guys who I pick out of each grade division, and we'll look back at this next week, and we'll see how close I am. Last week I was at about a 22% clip of picking right teams to win these brackets. So we'll see what happens in this. Let's start with the 6th grade, where you have AABA 03. They put together another team. What's the deal with that? AABA and 03 coming together to put these teams in tournaments.
Yes. I'm a good friend of Jordan, who coaches the AA. It's his organization, AABA.
Yeah.
And since he's in Ann Arbor, and then they just opened up the new 03 operation, they're merging and both operating out of the same, and they're trying to make an elite program. So it's kind of weird that about the 6th grade is where they're actually getting the first real merger. It's basically 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade teams are 03, and then when they go from 7th grade up, and then they become the AABA.
That's nice. So they got a team in the 6th grade division at the Common Bond tournament. Of course, Common Bond has a team in every age group except for the 11th graders. So you got AABA 03, Common Bond, Macomb County Cougars, Michigan Majors, MWA Elite has their 2025 guys, 5th graders playing up in the 6th grade group. And, I've seen these guys play the MW Elite. They're a scrappy bunch. I don't know if they can hold their own in a group full of 6th grade teams, but I know they'll try. If you ask me, I'm going with AABA 03 to win this 6th grade division. Let's take a look at the 7th grade division. Once again, AABA 03. They, just like Common Bond, have a team in every age group in this tournament except for the 11th grade. These are what I like to call powerhouse programs. Anytime you can field a tournament and you have teams in the 5th grade, the 6th grade, 7th, 8th, if you ask me, that's a powerhouse program, win or lose. Just the fact that you're able to field those teams is very impressive. So joining AABA 03 in the 7th grade group, CIA Bounce, which I have never heard of, Common Bond, Midwest Stampede, they're out of Adrian, Michigan, Club Legacy, Macomb County Cougars, Midwest Athletics, and the Michigan Playmakers. Midwest Athletics is normally a group that hosts tournaments. I see now that they have their own team. I'm intrigued by them to see what they're looking like. I'm picking the Michigan Playmakers in this 7th grade division to win the hardware. 8th grade division. Once again, you have AABA, Common Bond, Championship Sports, Legacy, Macomb County Cougars, and the Michigan Majors. I've saw Michigan Majors play 8th grade. They look good. I've seen Legacy play. I've seen Common Bond play. For this one here, the one team that I'm intrigued about because I haven't seen play is Championship Sports. Mike, are you familiar with them?
I am not.
Never heard of them.
No.
So we'll see what they bring to the table. Like I said, any of these teams that I've never seen, I'm always intrigued to see. Look, not only how they play, but I want to see the uniforms, the color scheme, and all of that. So let's jump to the 9th grade division. Once again, the powerhouses, AABA 03, Common Bond, the host team, Michigan Majors, Michigan Playmakers, Team Legacy, Burn Fitness Ballers. Have you ever heard of them?
I have not.
I have never heard of Burn Fitness Ballers. You got Team Transition, MWA Elite, Michigan Dynamite, and another championship sports team. Until I see what some of these teams bring to the table, I would like to say MWA and AABA in this one could compete for that final. But once again, there's 2 teams in here that I have no clue what they're bringing to the table. 10th grade, we have AABA, once again, Common Bond, Team Legacy, the Trackside Scrappers, Mike, have you ever heard of the Trackside Scrappers?
I have not, Gus.
Crazy. So that's like 4 teams, at least 3 that nor me or Mike have ever heard of, along with team transition in the 10th grade Common Bond tournament. For me, this is an easy one. I think AABA 03 select team will run right through this 10th grade bracket. And looking at the 11th grade bracket, championship sports, Michigan Gators, Michigan Playmakers, Midwest Stampede, the Owls, and the Family. Now, this is probably the most competitive, I would say, this 11th grade bracket, because you got teams like Family, you got teams making the trip from Adrian, Midwest Stampede, you got the Michigan Gators, who I'm familiar with, Michigan Playmakers, always bring something good to the table once you get into the high school divisions. I'm gonna look for the Playmakers and the Family to square off in the championship of the 11th grade. And that's a quick look at the Common Bond tournament hosted by Common Bond this weekend in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Mike, I wanted to ask you about these Gus Mackers that you guys go to. Where do you, I guess I would say, how far will you travel to hit a Gus Macker? How far will you carry your boys to go play 3-on-3 outdoor basketball?
Well, this summer we're gonna do one in Ludington, which from us being in the Detroit area is like I think a 4-hour drive. We're doing Sault Ste. Marie, which is at the top of the UP, about almost a 6-hour drive. We're even looking at doing Racine, Wisconsin. That's about the same. It's a 6-hour drive. That's late August. My team doesn't even know they're going to be subjected to that yet, but they're going to love me. Some of their wives especially. But I mean, everywhere. I last summer we did 6, and I made up my mind. I want to do at least that many. It's all 3-on-3, and it's street ball. The kids are bleeding almost after every game. They're very loosely officiated. There's no whining, no crying. Kids get ejected. I mean, it is very tough. It's hard-nosed. It's switch. It's talking. It's man-to-man. It's everything you want, but you just don't have the 5-on-5. It's the 3-on-3. I absolutely love it. I think it is the best basketball, the best development you can do. It's 100%. It's my favorite thing.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I know it's a lot of fun to hit the road with the players, some parents sometimes. Get a chance to bond, get a chance to know each other and kind of hang out away from the scene, away from home. It's something it's always fun, and most clubs look forward to the travel aspect of it.
The average bracket has, 17 teams. People don't realize that. I mean, that's we did one a couple weekends ago at Mount Pleasant,
Mm-hmm.
and there was 18 teams in just the 11 and 12-year-old division.
That's tough to win.
It's
That's tough to win when you're stacking up that many teams in one bracket. It's almost kind of like as soon as you think you slayed the giant, here comes another one.
Our team came in second in that one. I took a group, and we lost to the, I'm sure you know of the team. It is, what's the Saginaw? The Saginaw. Greenwood Elite.
Mm-hmm.
Their 7th grade team had some young boys in it that are all just turning 13. It's all age break, based. And I mean, tough. It's just tough.
So you do run into AAU caliber.
Oh yeah, out
clubs.
of the 18 teams, I would say there was 6 flat out AAU programs that are there, and it's like that in every division. So you have your cupcake. You'll be the team 15 zip, and then you'll be in a dogfight. Grand Rapids supplies a lot of the, like the NBA basketball programs. They have always a giant team in one of these things, and that's why it's not just local cities putting 3 kids in a program.
And you guys are off to Big Rapids this weekend to compete in one of these.
Oh yeah.
We wish you the best of luck. I know it'll be some stiff competition out that way in the Big Rapids, Grand Rapids area. A lot of big time ballers come from that region of the state. So we wish you guys the best of luck. Mike, before I get to the shout out section, I'd like to congratulate you on being the first guest for this show, the Travel Basketball with Gus Weaver show. I think you did a great job. You gave some great insight. I hope the listeners feel like they know your team, the 313 Hot Boyz, a little better. And it's always good to just get the word out in terms of what you guys are up to, because believe it or not, people listen to this show and it is a measuring stick to say, hey, these guys are going here, maybe we need to get out and go here. or, these guys are doing Gus Mackers too. Let me put my club in some Gus Mackers. Hey, let's travel a little more. These guys going all over. So I think all that's necessary for this very small circle, this travel basketball here in the state of Michigan, where everybody knows everybody. That's why we try to reach beyond a little bit. So once again, I thank you for your insight. I thank you for being on, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for having me. The one tournament I didn't bring up was Jam Fest. That one we did a couple weeks ago. That is a monster tournament to win. There was 12 teams in it, and we were lucky enough to take that one. But we played teams from Port Huron, Utica, Flint, Ypsilanti. Our Detroit team. It was well represented. This is just in the 6th grade. And it was there was some, and you had every type of game. One team you've got the bigs, the double bigs, the monsters. You're pounding them down low. The other is a speed game. The other's a shooter game. The team we played in the championship, Ballers Elite. I mean, they got shooters all over the place. It's such a neat tournament because you'll see every type of team. And that's what I say about like our personnel. We got the kids where we can literally match up against any one of these teams. So
you mentioned that Flint team you guys played at the Jam Fest. I know you sent them back home with a big time blowout loss. Sent them home in bracket play very early in the morning, and that's something that we like to do to the Flint teams. When they come down to this area, send them packing early, long road trip style. Give them something to whine about. That's why they're so angry when they come back. Like Flint come in with a chip on their shoulder because they get sent home in a bad fashion so many times.
Our kids woke up ready to play that game, Gus. They were absolutely fired up.
Yeah, I saw that one, and that was a fun game to watch. It was kind of over right as it started. The Flint had nothing for your 313 Hot Boyz. Let's get into the shout out program, to the shout out portion of the program, I should say. There's a company out of Ohio, Barnstorm Basketball Association, ran by Mr. Jack Williams. Jack is a personal friend of mine. He sends stuff my way, I send stuff his way when I can. And this is a shout out for his organization, Barnstorm Basketball Association. They've got a big time tournament coming up next weekend at University of California, Pennsylvania. The name of this tournament is the Steel City Memorial Classic. Registration ends Monday coming up. So if you guys are interested, please visit their website, barnstormbasketball.com. Check them out on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Once again, that's barnstormbasketball.com. This big Steel City tournament next weekend in Pennsylvania. If you're looking for something last minute to get into that is not expensive, this tournament is only $195 for a team. That gets you a 3-game guarantee, and it goes from grades 3 through 11. Once again, visit barnstormbasketball.com for more information on this Steel City Memorial Classic. I know the 313 Hot Boyz have attended 2 of Barnstorm Basketball Association tournaments, and they've got nothing but good things to say about it. I've personally been there and witnessed the scene and how it's ran. Nothing but good things to say about the BBA. Next shout out goes to my guy, De Niro Rice from D Rice Elite. He's got a tough 5th grade team. This is his shout out. They were at the Moneyball tournament last weekend. I believe they finished 3rd in the 5th grade bracket. De Niro Rice, the D Rice Elite squad, this is your shout out. All the listeners in the 313, all the listeners in Michigan, this is Travel Basketball with Gus Weaver on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.